How's it going, Mets and overall baseball fans? Welcome back to the channel. Even though I'm going to go on a limb and say that it's not going well for you, because it's not going well for me if you're a diehard Mets fan. What you've seen over the past 2 weeks has been nothing short of mediocrity, inconsistency, and a whole lot of frustration. Anemic offense, anemic pitching, whatever it's going to be, that is what we've seen as the Mets have won 3-11 over their past 2 weeks of play. So I know the frustration. I've ranted about it plenty, as I know you guys have seen in our recent podcast with Anthony Recker, or whether it's going to be our consistent post-game shows, as we always do nightly, including tonight in the series that begins tonight in Cincinnati against the Reds. But before we even get into the topic of discussion today, we have to discuss a breaking news topic that just came out over the past hour, that Max Scherzer, the man who of course had fastballs that were flat and lifeless in his first start back from the suspension there in Detroit, said the fastball was a little flat because he was trying to, compensate for the injury he's still dealing with and not to aggravate it again, that being his round right scapula injury. And in doing so, now he woke up literally yesterday and has neck spasms. So he is a late scratch for David Pearson to be called up. So I'm frustrated. I know you are on the pitching front. So by all means, drop it down below in the comments. Share those frustrations. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to do that right now. What was that? Oh, come on. I mean, you're saying a lot. I'm probably going to need to delete those comments. All right, so now we're back in it. So Max Scherzer, again, a late scratch. So David Pearson's going to start tonight, as we're all excited for, of course, followed by Justin Verlander, hopefully tomorrow, and then the following day, the series finale, Kodai Senga. So we'll see what happens with this Metropolitan team, and you can see the frustration in my face. But what we did see, at least earlier today, was a pickup. And if you're wondering why we're even discussing this, it's because small or big, any type of Mets transaction, acquisition, a signing, or a trade that could possibly impact this Mets team, if at all, this year, we are always going to cover here on WardyNYM, and that was broken initially at 8 to 9:30 or so a.m. Eastern time from Joel Sherman of the New York Post that yes, the Mets have signed El Kraken, Gary Sanchez, the former Yankee, now turned Met, to a minor league deal. Sanchez, of course, a 30-year-old catcher, was most recently in the San Francisco Giants organization, but right around May 2nd or so, cut ties with him because he, of course, wasn't going to be gaining opportunity in the bigs. Didn't have a good year in AAA to start throughout the first 10-plus games, and they mutually agreed to part ways, opt out of that contract, and now he's picked up by the Mets here after having, again, not a good season last year with the Twins, 16 home runs, so has that pop, but just over the Mendoza line at around a 208 average, a sub 700 OPS, a sub 300 OBP guy, not a good defensive catcher at all. So why did the Mets even do this? Why are we talking about it? It's because the Mets don't have catching depth right now. That's the simple reason for this. As bad of a defensive catcher as Gary Sanchez may be, he's still better overall of an option there in AAA to start versus what the Mets have, because of Francisco Alvarez, who has looked great over the past week plus with the bat. As the youngest player in baseball, we love to see it. There's a reason why he was viewed as a top prospect in baseball for a while, and he's just getting started. And then you have Tomasino, has been anything but impressive with the bat, and his backstop, his defensive ability hasn't been as sharp as what I feel like I've seen from last year either. No less is if one of these guys go down with the Narvaez already on the shelf as is on the 60-day AL, then you're going to have either Hayden Senger, who's in Double-A, who I know all you Mets fans know very well, right? Cue the sarcasm, or Michael Perez, the left-hand hitting catcher who's in AAA, not even on the 40-man, as the next guys to be called up. And no one wants that, right? So with the Mets having inevitable injuries every year, it's been all on the pitching front right now, so knock on wood that doesn't get too much on the position player front, but should that happen, at least the Mets have somewhat of a reliable option and a guy who knows what it takes to hit the ball out of the park, something that this Mets lineup has struggled to do that we've seen in recent years outside of Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor. So now you bring Sanchez into the fold. He's starting the year in AAA, and for him, this probably gives him a better opportunity to get acclimated with an MLB team again. Going back home to New York is something that I'm sure he's enjoying, in which he has plenty of his family from there during his time, a long time with the Yankees, in which he was crushing baseballs, hitting around 25, 30 home runs a year, 100 plus RBIs. He was doing it all. Again, not a good defensive catcher, but big swing and miss guy. But when he was barreling the baseball, it was going 450 dead center. So there was a lot of positives with Sanchez for a while during his Yankee tenure, early on at least there in the mid to late 2010s, getting into 2020 and beyond. However, what we do know is that Sanchez gives him an opportunity now to potentially crack the big league club at some point, either as a catcher due to injury or getting some opportunities potentially at DH with Vogelbach and Pham. Again, two guys that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. Vogie just did that against the Rockies. Pham does every now and then, but guys that don't consistently do it. Sanchez is only upside. The only reason why he's even viewed as an MLB-esque caliber catcher at this point in his career is because he still has that raw power and that raw ability. If it wasn't for that, I don't even think the Mets would consider him at this point, because other than that, he has very little to give you from the offensive standpoint. And from the defensive standpoint, you're not getting a whole lot of out of either, but we already know that. We've discussed that at length many times. So in a nutshell, this is why the Mets made this signing happen. They like the potential upside of him and that depth role to start the year in AAA in Syracuse. And for Sanchez, he goes back home to New York, right where he's been for a long period of time, and has an opportunity to potentially impact this Mets team for the better should called upon. Again, fingers crossed that you aren't calling him, because if you are, then there's a reason for it, and probably not a good reason. But until then, we'll soon find out what happens on the Sanchez front as he starts his Mets tenure there in AAA with Syracuse. And if he does get called up and play a certain amount of games, he will be getting $1.5 million in major league money. So Sanchez has some incentives there too, obviously, and we'll see what happens during his short tenure with the Metropolitans. But Mets fans, I want to know your raw thoughts and reactions to this signing of getting El Kraken. Yes, that being that being in Gary Sanchez. Make sure to drop him down below and share your frustrations. We're all frustrated about this Mets team right now. I know I am. I'll be live again tonight, post-game show, all throughout the week per usual, so make sure to chime in. Whether it's a win or a loss, we're going to cover this team as we always do, because no matter what, and the highs and the lows, we love this Mets team, and we just hope that they can get themselves on a roll here in what has been a putrid and truly anemic past 2 weeks of baseball. Thank you guys all so much. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button if you enjoy the Mets content, and stay tuned for more great, consistent Mets content as always. And I'll talk to you again real soon. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.